Hello, hello, scrapbookers. Sorry, my voice. I am back today. It is December 2nd. I didn't get a chance to scrapbook my December daily yesterday. I did print off all of the photos that I am thinking I want to include for yesterday. So these are the 6 images that I printed off using my brand new, well, it's not brand new, I got it last year, but my Canon selfie, and I was kind of worried about using it, but it turned out okay. It was super, super easy. And I did use an app on my phone to make these. I think it was called Live Collage or something like that. I'm not really sure. Let me check. Excuse me. So I just have this photography board, or whatever you call these on the iPhone. And I have my phone charging right now. Let's see. Yeah, it's called Live Collage. It's right here. So you can go to the App Store. Let me focus on it. Sorry, it turned off my focus. So these are all of the different apps that I have. I have Live Collage, which I click on and I go into, and you can use the photo editor. There's video slides, live stickers, and then photo collage. So I click on photo collage and I pick whichever design I want to do. So for this one, I clicked on this one, and then if I scroll over, it says ratio. I hope you guys can see this. And so it changes the ratio. So if you want it, let's see, now it's not going to change. Oh, you hit the ratio button. So for this, for 2 4x3s, you click on this one, or you keep clicking the ratio button until you get the one you wanted. And then it goes back to the 4x3. So that's what I did. You click on the plus sign to add your photos. So if I wanted to add a couple photos of Max from yesterday, then I could have done that, and that's what it would have looked like. And then all you do is hit save, and so now it's saved. And it likes to do this little ad thing, which is so nice, right? Sorry about that. That was kind of crazy. So you save it, and now it says saved. So then you come in here to the Canon print app, which I got. I agreed yesterday. I don't know why it was asking me again. And then you click on photo print, and then it'll have camera roll right here at the top, and you can see the very last image that I have is this one that I did of Max. So then you hit select, and my printer isn't on right now, so it's not going to completely work, but then you hit next after selecting it, and then you just hit print. See, it already has all of my printer settings in here, so it has my Canon CP910, copies 1, borderless, and then I can go ahead and print. And so that was kind of nice. It was super simple to do it that way. There are a bunch of different ways that you can get it, a bunch of different apps you can get, but that's just specifically what I use and what I have decided to do for my December daily. So here are all 6 of my photos. I am going to cut them apart and get started. And I'm going to put you on fast forward and see how this goes. Okay, so now here I am going to get started by cutting apart the photos that I printed off. And the photos do come printed with a border in between each photo, which is kind of nice. I do like the border in between the photo. There is an option that you can print it with a border around the photos as well, but I didn't do that. I printed borderless photos. Okay, so now you can see I have pulled out my album, and at this point I absolutely have no idea what I am doing. So I am going to step away for a minute and gather my thoughts, and when I come back, they are going to be gathered. And here you can see I pulled out some Becky Higgins Project Life 6x8 pocket pages. That is a mouthful. And I also have decided I'm going to do the left side and the right side of the page. So on Sunday, I will post a video of my cover page for when you open up the album. I will have that there. And so what I'm going to do is on the left hand side, I'm just going to do the full 6x8 page. I'm opening up this pack from Recollections. I'm going to pull out this red paper and I'm going to cut it down to 6 by 8. Well, I think what I do is you can see right here, I'm marking how big I need to make my cuts because these pockets aren't full 6 by 8, which is kind of frustrating. I wish the pockets would be really 6 by 8. Okay, so now here I'm going through this Simple Stories DIY line, and I really love this Merry and Bright paper. I thought it was really pretty, and since this picture isn't merry and bright, I thought I could kind of do a little play on words and have it say not so merry and bright or something like that. And I'm going to use this, let's see, what ink is this? This is my Versa Magic Oasis Green, and it is an archival multi-surface chalk ink pad. I got it on Craigslist, I think, probably a couple of years ago. Now here I have this other idea. The background, the red background paper just looked kind of plain, and so I bought this Heidi Swapp stamp, and it's just this cute little snowflake. So I'm going to use my Versamark ink pad, and I am just going to stamp my own background with these stamps. And that works out perfect. I absolutely love how that turns out. So here I'm trying to decide if I want a top heavy layout or a bottom heavy or middle heavy, you know. So I'm going to end up deciding on going with a bottom heavy layout. I'm just pulling out a few different embellishment packs from my December daily kit, and I had this chipboard pack from the DIY collection that has a cute little arrow in it. And then I'm going to start trying to pull out papers because I want to mount a paper behind my photos, but I'm not really sure exactly what I want to do. So I come back after I think about it for a little bit, and I'm gonna decide to go with these two papers that I have pulled out there from the Simple Stories DIY collection. And this first one is just kind of it's like a ruled paper with a kind of light tan color in the background. So I matte the photos on that first, and then I'm going to pull out my ruby red ink from Close to My Heart. And I also had this, what is that, topiary from Close to My Heart. Oh, and I pulled out Barn Red first. I forgot about that. But then I had this little, pigment ink, I think is what it's called. And I'm going to decide to go with that. So I'm going to stick that little piece of, it's the it's the Tim Holtz foam inkers. And I'm going to stick it to that circular ink blender. And that works out pretty well. Now I'm going to glue down both photos to this diagonal stripe paper. And then I'm going to cut those apart. And the borders on these, or the mats on these two photos, are just very thin, very simple. I wanted to keep it, I wanted there to be a little bit of a pattern behind it, behind each of the photos, but I didn't want it to stand out extremely a lot. I don't know. Does that make sense? So here I'm going to start putting down what I want the rest of the title to be. And I think I did Not So Merry and Bright last year, because I think I had a page, or maybe it was 2 years ago that I did a page like that. So I decided to change it up a little bit. So my title is going to be Not Such a Bright and Merry Morning. And I really love how this page turned out. And now here I'm just trying to figure out what else I want to go there underneath that photo on the right. So I'm going to put another arrow, and then I'm also going to put some of these sequins that I got from the Spiegel Mom scrap store, and that is the Holly Berries sequin mix. I will leave links below to the products that I use, and hopefully I can find all the links for you. some of these products are kind of old, so I'm not really sure how easily they'll be found. Okay, so now you can see I'm just putting together my title, and then I'm going to glue down all of those sequin mixes. And this part actually took the longest, gluing everything down, making sure it was in the right spot. And I think this both, because I'm doing a 2-page spread layout for day 1, I think it took about an hour and 10 minutes between the 2 pages. So that's not too bad. It's not incredibly amazing either, but that's better than taking 2 or 3 hours, right? Now I am going to do my journaling. So I wanted to write my journaling up there in the top left-hand corner next to the photos, but I wasn't quite sure how well it would turn out, so I wanted to do it on a scrap piece of paper, and I'm so glad I did this, because on the scrap piece of paper I wrote too big, extremely too big. So I am going to write in these 3 different pens, and I decided to go with that first one that I used anyway, but I wanted to make sure that I liked the end result of the writing. So here I'm just using all 4 pens, and I decide, okay, I'm going to use this one, and then I am going to write a lot smaller than I did on that scrap piece of paper. And I'm so, like I said, I'm glad I did that, because I was able to fit more of the story in the journaling spot than I would have if I had just started writing. I tend to write really big, and I don't always have room. So I'm super glad that I did the scrap piece of paper thing. So let's see, the journaling just says, Tinian was running around while sucking on his peppermint. He ended up swallowing it whole. He was okay, but ended up staying home. The cost of no school is swallowing a peppermint. I did do a little bit of journaling underneath the photo of the advent calendar, which didn't really bother me. So there is the first page done. I'm going to stick it in my page protector, and then I'm going to stick it in my album and move on to the next page for that day. So now here I'm pulling out my pocket page, and I'm going to pull out a green piece of paper from the same paper pack, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the red page and use the Heidi Swap stamp. But first I have to cut it to a 4x6, and for some reason it didn't fit. I think, oh, it's because I didn't measure it against the pocket. I just measured it as the measurements. So it's actually a little bit bigger, I guess, than a 4x6, which I thought was odd. So here I'm measuring or marking where I need to make my cuts. And that worked out much better. So now here you're going to see I'm just checking to make sure it fits, and then I'm going to pull out the stamp and the ink pad again and start stamping away. And I really like how this turns out, and it kind of brings in the same pattern from the other page and makes everything cohesive. So now I'm just going to back my photos, these 2 photos of me working on my December daily yesterday, and I am going to mat them just on this off-white piece of paper. So I'm cutting those apart, and just I'm going to ink the edges with the same red color. and then glue those down. And I'm going to put the number 1 up at the top of that page on the right hand side. I was thinking about using these Recollections 3-dimensional tape, but I didn't like how much it stuck off of the page. So then I'm going to try this 3M 3-dimensional tape, but that wasn't big enough. So then I resort to these little squares, and those aren't as big as the 3-dimensional tape or the circle tape. And so that works out a little bit better. I'm trying to make my album not so bulky this year. We'll see how that goes. So here I'm just gluing down these photos, and then I'm going to do a bad thing. I'm going to pull out a black pen to do my journaling, which wasn't the best decision because you can't really read it. I kind of wish I would have thought about it a little bit more and used a white pen. But oh well. I guess you can just end up bringing the writing up to your face so you can read it. So that was the only thing that I didn't like about this page, was it didn't work out with the journaling. Okay, so I had this cute little joy sticker that I'm going to put there, and I did do a little bit of journaling underneath the one about the elf photo and then also my December daily photos, but I didn't do any journaling about this top photo on the left or on the right. So I'm just going to do my journaling with these letters, and it's going to say counting by himself. And at first I started putting the word by to the left of my son and my husband, but that's not going to work out. I am going to end up pulling the words by himself down to the bottom, and that works out much better. So here you can see I am pulling off the words or the letters for himself so that I can kind of move it around and see exactly where I want to put it on the photo. And like I said, these pockets are a little bit, I don't remember what I measured them to be, but they are a little bit underneath the 3x4 size, but even then these photos weren't big enough. So I'm gonna have to make a little mat to go around the photos, which is kind of frustrating. I wish that the Canon Selphy would print true 3x4 photos so that I wouldn't have to mat them. So I had this scrap piece of paper that I'm going to end up cutting up and making a mat, and you can't even really tell that I kind of glued these pieces together to make them work. So I mess with this quite a bit, and I think I'm just gonna fast forward through this part because this is just a lot of messing around with that mat. Okay, so now I glued that photo down, and I am going to move on to this second photo up there at the top. And for this one, I had enough of the 6x6 pad that I didn't have to do the same craziness as with the other photos. So that was a little bit nicer. So here I'm just going to glue that down, ink the edges, and I am done with my spread for day number 1. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will post some pictures. Bye!